welcome to Requiro. Today we are going to be talking about Luigi Mangione's court appearance when he appeared on the 23rd of January 2026. This is the official transcript of this court date when Luigi Mangione appeared in court. So this is just a audio version of this full transcript, and like I said in my last video going over a transcript in Luigi Mangione's case, I'm not too sure if I'm gonna do a little breakdown like I normally do with these really big documents. This is a transcript. I did it with the live tweets in Luigi Mangione's December suppression hearings, but I'm not too sure if I'm gonna do it with this document as well. I said that in my last video. I'm also putting this here as well. Let me know in the comments down below and I'll do a little breakdown and bring up things that are like incredibly important like I've done with the live tweets. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below and I'll make a little video. So this is just a audio version of this full transcript, so you don't have time to go read it. You can just like pop your earbuds, earplugs, etc., whatever, have it playing in the background when doing washing or something, or painting, etc. This is just a audio version of this document. It is literally about 68 pages long. That's why I'm making an audio version of this transcript. And as me recording this video this week, it is Luigi Mangione's birthday. He will be turning 28 on the 6th of May 2026. Yeah, I know he's never gonna watch this, but like, happy birthday, Luigi Mangione. And a little part of me is a little bit sad, like just knowing he's been there for a full year and he's spending another birthday at MDC. I know it's physically impossible for Luigi Mangione not be released before his 28th birthday, but it's still a like bittersweet feeling, you know? So I hope Luigi Mangione gets lots of birthday wishes. I'm wishing him happy birthday on my little channel. I know he's never gonna see this ever, but funny enough, my second video ever on this channel was filmed around Luigi Mangione's birthday last year when he was turning 27. So, and all the information and all the sources I used in this week's video will be up on this week's episode on the website. And if there's anything I got wrong or anything like that, please let me know in the comments down below and I'll sure to pin it or bring it up in my next video, because I am one person working on all these videos. Now, let's get into the video.
United States District Court, Southern District of New York, ex-United States of America, Volume 25 CR 176, MMG, Luigi Mangione, Conference Defendant, ex-New York, NY January 23, 2026 11 a.m. Before, Hon. Margaret M. Garnett, District Judge. Appearances: J. Clayton, United States Attorney for the Southern District of New York by Dominic A. Gentile, June Zhang, Alexandra S. Messiter, Thomas John Wright, Assistant United States Attorneys, Anafilo Intrater LLP, Attorneys for Defendant by Mark Anthony Anafilo, Karen Friedman Anafilo, Jacob Kaplan, and Moskowitz, Colson, Ginsberg and Schulman LLP by EYLAN Schulman, Christopher Arneff. The Deputy Clerk, United States v. Luigi Mangione, Case Number 25 CR 176. Counsel, please state your appearances for the record, starting with the government. Mr. Gentile: good morning, Your Honor. Dominic Gentile, June Zhang, Alexandra Messiter, and Thomas John Wright for the United States. Seated at counsel table with us is paralegal specialist Ananias Anka. The court: good morning, Ms. Friedman Anafilo. Good morning, Karen Friedman Anafilo on behalf of Mr. Mangione. Also, Mark Anafilo, Jacob Kaplan, Elin Schulman, and Christopher Neff on behalf of Mr. Mangione. Bella Irwin will be seated at counsel table doing exhibits during cross-examination. Thank you, Your Honor. The court: thank you all. You can be seated. A couple of reminders for everyone. The first is for counsel, that, as I told you a couple of weeks ago when we were last together, that we have a live audio feed to the overflow room. The microphones are very sensitive, much more sensitive than they are here in the courtroom. So if you need to confer privately with each other, or if you need to confer with Mr. Mangione privately, just be very conscious of the microphones. You can mute your microphone if you're going to speak and you'd like it to be private. Also, if you are one of the handful of people who are allowed to have a cell phone with you, just take a moment and make sure that it is fully silent in all respects. Off is better. If anyone's phone goes off during the proceeding, it will be taken and you may be escorted out. First, a couple of administrative notes before we get to the evidence today. As to trial scheduling, I'm going to adopt the party's suggestion that we begin in-person jury selection on Tuesday, September 8th, with the goal of beginning a non-capital on Tuesday, October 13th. The Monday the 12th the party suggested is a court holiday, so that would begin on Tuesday, October 13th. If a capital trial is to happen, we'd begin the presentation of evidence, opening statements really, on Monday, January 11th, 2027. One thing that was absent from the party's proposal but is crucial to the court's timing, in particular the timing of the jury department's work, is any discussion of a jury questionnaire, and, if one is used, how the administration of that questionnaire would intersect with the timing of jury selection. Since we're together again next Friday to talk about scheduling and other matters, I just asked counsel to consider that issue, discuss it with each other, and then we can take it up on next Friday when we're together. Okay. I also received the government search warrant affidavit. Thank you, Mr. Gentile. Does the entire document need to be under seal? In other words, if I refer to that document in my suppression opinion, is there any information that I need to be aware of that may need to be sealed? Mr. Gentile: No, Your Honor. The court: All right, good. I just want to make sure. Then, finally, just a word about today's hearing and the government's letter. As I previously stated, both orally and in writing, the sole issue for today's hearing is to receive evidence about the standard procedures being used by the Altoona Police Department in September of 2024 relating to the securing, safeguarding, and, if appropriate, inventorying of the personal property of a person arrested in a public place, or to inform the court's evaluation of the government's inevitable discovery arguments related to the contents of the defendant's backpack. The reason for the limitation, as I explained a little bit the last time we were together, is that, in the court's view, the relevant facts that are necessary to deciding the rest of the suppression motion and the government's arguments and opposition to it are not in dispute. Mr. Kaplan, are you going to be handling the cross-examination? Mr. Kaplan: No, Your Honor. Mr. Anafilo will. Mr. Anafilo: It's going to be me, Your Honor. The court: All right. Of course, Mr. Anafilo, I will give you some latitude on cross-examination to impeach, but only if it is impeachment of this witness and his direct testimony. I'm not going to allow this to turn into some kind of extension of the state hearing by proxy. I'm confident that you understand that, but it's good to make sure we're all on the same page. Mr. Anafilo: Thank you, Judge. The court: So, with that understanding, as I said, in its letter this morning, the government has asked me to preemptively prevent the defense from using Defense Exhibit 2, which appears on its face to be some kind of police log document related to Mr. Mangione's arrest. I'm not going to do that at this point, because I don't know yet the questions that Mr. Anafilo might ask about that document and the relevance of those questions, and I can't really assess that in a vacuum. I certainly understand the government's concerns. I'm also confident that Mr. Anafilo understands the scope of this hearing. Everyone should understand that if we begin to veer beyond that scope on direct or cross, I won't hesitate to put a stop to it in the interest of conserving the court's time and not having this turn into a circus that is not relevant to any issue before the court. So, with that, before we call the witness, anything, Mr. Gentile, that you'd like to raise? Mr. Gentile: Not from the government, Judge. No. The court: Mr. Anafilo: Anything? Mr. Anafilo: Nothing from us, Judge. No. The court: All right, Mr. Gentile, does the government have a witness? Mr. Gentile: We do, Your Honor. The government calls Deputy Chief Nathan Snyder. The court: Great, Mr. Snyder. Okay, we're getting him from the hall, I assume. Welcome, Mr. Snyder. You're going to come right over here, and when you get to the witness box, just remain standing for the oath. Thank you. Witness sworn: The Deputy Clerk. Please state and spell your full name for the record. The witness: Nathan Snyder, Nathn Snyder. The Deputy Clerk: Thank you. You may be seated. The court: You might want to lower that chair. It looks a little high, but you do whatever is comfortable for you. Mr. Gentile: Mr. Gentile, may I inquire? Judge: The court: You may. Mr. Gentile: Judge, before we begin, I just wanted to point out that some of the exhibits that the government intends to introduce today are duplicates of exhibits that were attached to our motion papers. We are renumbering them for purposes of this hearing, though. The court, OK. Nathan Snyder, called as a witness by the government, having been duly sworn, testified as follows. Direct examination by Mr. Gentile. Q. Good morning, sir. A. Good morning. Q. By whom are you employed? A. The Altoona Police Department. Q. And what is your current position within the Altoona Police Department? A. I am the Deputy Chief. Q. And how long have you been with the Altoona Police Department? A. Since June of 2009. Q. Did you hold any law enforcement positions prior to your employment with the Altoona Police Department? A. I worked in the State Correctional Institution for about 4 years. Q. Can you briefly describe the positions you've held while you've been with the Altoona Police? A. Sure. When I was hired in 2009, I was a probationary officer until about 2013. I was promoted to corporal, and then about 5 years after that, I was promoted to sergeant, and about 3 or 4 years after that, to lieutenant, and then, most recently, as the deputy chief as of January 2nd. Q. Congratulations on your promotion. A. Thank you. The court. That's January 2nd of this year. A. This year. That's right. Q. Did any of the positions that you just described involve the training of police officers? A. Yes, they did. When I was a patrolman before I became a corporal, I was designated as a FTO. That's a field training officer. And then once I was promoted to corporal, I actually oversaw our FTO program for a couple years. And then, again, as a lieutenant, I oversaw the program for a couple years then, too. Q. Just briefly, what is a field training officer? A. So, a field training officer is responsible for training probationary officers to become Altoona police officers and be out on solo patrol. Q. And does that include training them on rules and procedures of the police department? A. Yes, it does. Q. For how long were you involved in the training of police officers in Altoona? A. Since about 2012. Q. And approximately how long did you serve as a field training officer specifically? A. So, once you're designated a field training officer, you're always involved in the training and mentorship of probationary officers. Q. Chief, does the Altoona Police Department maintain a written set of written policies and procedures? A. Yes, they do. Q. And what is that collection of policies and procedures called? A. They're referred to as general orders. Q. And are those general orders compiled in a larger manual of some sort? A. Yes, they are. Q. And is that manual accessible to the officers of the Altoona Police Department? A. Yes, it is, both electronically and in a hard copy, paper copy. Q. So each of the officers has a manual, is that right? A. That is correct. Q. Approximately how many sworn officers are there in Altoona Police? A. Currently, there are 70. Q. And how are these officers instructed on the rules and procedures of the Altoona Police Department? A. So, initially, when they are brought in, the FTO will read over the general orders with them, explain them to them. They will then take them out on the street and demonstrate how to apply them, and then, at a later time, they're quizzed basically by a supervisor as to their knowledge of that general order. The court. I'm sorry, Mr. Gentile, to interrupt you. Can I just ask, does Altoona have its own police academy, Mr. Snyder or Chief Snyder, or do you participate in some kind of pool academy? The witness. We do not have our own specific. We actually participate in a larger pool, which is governed by MPOETC. The court. What is MPOETC? The witness. MPOETC is the Municipal Police Officers Education and Training Commission. They're the governing body for municipal police in Pennsylvania. The court. Okay, so, the multiple departments pool to have an academy, and this training that you've talked about, the FTO portion, that's happening after officers come to you from this pool academy. The witness. Yes, Judge, that's correct. The court. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Gentile. Mr. Gentile, thank you, Judge. Q. Just following up on what the court's questions were, the rules and procedures of the Altoona Police Department, are they taught by the police academy that the officers attend, or just by these field training officers and the department itself? A. By the field training officers and the department itself. Q. In addition to the general orders, are there any written materials that the department uses to implement its policies and procedures and to train the officers on? A. Yes, there is. We call them task sheets. Q. And what are the training task sheets? A. Training task sheets are basically the building block for a specific task that the probation officer needs to learn, anything from searches or how to tow a vehicle, and how we do those things. Q. Do the task sheets correspond to the general orders you described earlier? A. Yes, they do. Q. And are the task sheets part of the manual? A. Yes. Q. We're going to get into those task sheets a little bit more later. Before we move on, Chief, I want to ask you, were you involved in the arrest of the defendant on December 9, 2024, in Altoona, Pennsylvania? A. No, I was not. Q. Were you even working that day? A. I was, but not in that area. Q. Were you in Altoona, Pennsylvania, on that day? A. No, I was not. Q. Have you spoken with the officers who did participate in his arrest at the McDonald's in any substantive way about their actions that day? A. No, I have not. Q. And have you had any involvement in the Altoona Police Department's investigation of the defendant? A. No, I have not. Q. Have you reviewed any of the body-worn camera worn by the officers who interacted with the defendant on December 9, 2024? A. No, I have not. Q. Let's talk a little bit about specific policies and procedures of the Altoona Police Department, specifically, those regarding the securing, safeguarding and inventorying of detainee property. Does the Altoona Police Department manual have specific procedures which pertain to detainee property? A. Yes, we do. Q. And what are those policies and procedures? A. They are found in General Orders 3.1, 3.5 and 3.6. Q. And are there any policies and procedures that are discussed or referenced in those task sheets that you discussed earlier? A. Yes, there are. Q. Let's start with General Order 3.1. With the court's permission, I'm going to ask Ms. Sanker to publish what's been marked as Government Exhibit 1 to the court, the witness and the parties. The court. Yes. Any objection, Mr. Anafilo? Mr. Anafilo? No, Your Honor, none. Q. Chief, do you recognize this document that's on the screen in front of you? A. Yes, I do. Q. What is it? A. This is the Altoona Police Department's General Order 3.1. Q. Is this a true and accurate copy of General Order 3.1? A. Yes, it is. Mr. Gentile, the government offers Government Exhibit 1 into evidence. Judge, the court. Any objections, Mr. Anafilo? Mr. Anafilo? No objection, Your Honor. Thank you. The court. All right. Government Exhibit 1 is received. Government Exhibit 1 received in evidence. Q. Chief, what is the title of General Order 3.1? A. Cell area. Q. And which sections of General Order 3.1 apply to detainee property? A. 3.1.9 and the 1st of March 2010. Q. I'm going to direct your attention to Section 3.1.9, which is titled Required Detainee Searches, and specifically subsection A, which is titled Inventory Search of the Detainee, and that's on page 6, and paragraph 1 under that subheading. I'm going to ask you to take a look at that, and then I'm also going to direct your attention to section the 1st of March 2010, which is titled Secure Storage of Detainee Property, and it's specifically subsection A and subsection 1. Just look at that briefly, Chief. Taken together, the court. I'm sorry, Mr. Gentile, Mr. Snyder, if at any time it's helpful to you to see a paper copy of these documents, so you can see these things in context. I know you're very familiar with the things the government is showing you, but if at any time the screen is fantastic, but you can't always see the whole document, so please don't hesitate. I have paper copies, so does the government. If at any time it would be helpful for you to see something in context in paper, you just tell me and we'll take care of it. Okay, the witness. Okay, thank you. The court. Go ahead, Mr. Gentile. Mr. Gentile, thank you, Judge. Q. Taken together, Chief, what do these two sections of the General Order 3.1 describe? A. They describe the process of when a detainee is brought to station, that their property will be searched, that the detainee will be searched, that the property will be inventoried, and it will be safeguarded until a disposition of the detainee. Q. Does this system of securing and inventorying detainee property described in these particular sections apply only to property that is found on a detainee's person, or does it apply to all property belonging to a detainee? A. This would be for all property. Q. And do these procedures apply to the personal property of a person arrested in a public place? A. Yes. Q. Let's turn to General Order 3.6. Mr. Gentile, may we publish what has been marked as Government Exhibit 2? Judge, the court. Any objection, Mr. Anafilo? Mr. Anafilo, no objection. Judge, the court, yes. Q. Chief, do you recognize this document? A. Yes, I do. Q. And can you tell the court what it is? A. It is the Altoona Police Department's General Order 3.6. Q. And is it a true and accurate copy of General Order 3.6? A. Yes, it is. Mr. Gentile, the government offers Government Exhibit 2 into evidence. Judge, Mr. Anafilo, no objection. The court, okay. Government Exhibit 2 is received. Government Exhibit 2 received in evidence. Q. Chief, what is the title of General Order 3.6? A. Property and Evidence Control. Q. I'm going to direct your attention to Section 3.6.1 on page 2, which contains the heading Receiving and Retention of Evidence and Property. I'm going to ask you to look at that briefly. Generally speaking, Chief, what procedure does 3.6.1 establish for property coming into the possession of the Altoona Police Department? A. It states that all property that we receive must be documented, inventoried and safeguarded until a disposition can be made. Q. And it applies to those enumerated categories below. Paragraph 1. Is that right? A. That is correct. Q. And does this system of safeguarding, securing and inventorying property apply to all of a detainee's property or only property that's found on his or her person? A. All of their property. The court, can I just ask you, Mr. Snyder, this category B, all the other properties, all the other categories seem pretty self-explanatory to me, but category B, recovered property, based on your experience and involvement with implementing these orders, what does recovered property mean? Give me some examples of what that refers to. The witness, so recovered property would be anything that we find that we can't relatively quickly link to an owner, that our guys find, where, versus like a found property. Typically we're talking about somebody brings that to the station or somebody stops an officer and says, hey, I found a wallet, that type of thing. The court, all right. So recovered property is intended to encompass things that police officers might find, whether at a crime scene or in connection with some other investigation. Basically, anything that isn't found or abandoned but is picked up by a police officer in some context in the course of their duties. The witness, I would say that's accurate. The court, thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Gentile. Mr. Gentile, thank you. Judge, Q. Following up on the court's question, all of those enumerated categories, this procedure applies to all those enumerated categories. Is that right? A. That is correct. Q. So, that means that any recovered property that's not associated with anyone would also be inventoried as well. Is that right? A. That is correct. Q. Does this section include the personal property of a person arrested in a public place? A. Yes, it does. Q. The third general order you mentioned, Chief, is General Order 3.5. Is that right? A. That's correct. Mr. Gentile, may we publish what has been marked as Government Exhibit 3? Mr. Anafilo, no objection. The court, yes. Q. Chief, do you recognize this document? A. Yes, I do. Q. And what is this document? A. This is the Altoona Police Department's General Order 3.5. Q. And is this a true and accurate copy of General Order 3.5? A. Yes, it is. Mr. Gentile, the government offers Government Exhibit 3 into evidence. Mr. Anafilo, no objection. Judge, the court, Government Exhibit 3 is received. Government Exhibit 3 received in evidence. Q. Chief, can you read what the title of General Order 3.5 is? A. Collection and Preservation of Evidence. Q. Directing your attention to Section 3.5.2, on page 2. What does that section of 3.5 cover? A. Again, it states, all evidence and property received by a member of our department will be documented, safeguarded and secured until a disposition can be made with that. Q. And, again, it applies to those enumerated categories underneath paragraph A. Is that right? A. That is correct. Q. Generally speaking, what does section 3.5.2 instruct officers to do with those categories of property? A. It says that we're going to document them, inventory and secure them until we can get a disposition for that property. Q. Chief, the 3 general orders we just went through, were they all in effect in December of 2024? A. Yes, they were. Q. Let's talk a little bit more about the task sheets you discussed earlier. How are the Altoona Police Department officers instructed on the procedures described in the general orders? A. So, again, with the task sheets, they're read to the probationary officer, usually by the FTO. The FTO can ask questions, or, the probationary officer will ask questions. The FTO will clarify that, and then they'll actually attempt to demonstrate that to show them in the field how that applies. Again, they'll be brought back to the station at some point and quizzed by a supervisor as to their knowledge of that task, and then they'll be signed off on it. Q. I believe you testified earlier that the task sheets correspond to the general orders in the manual. Is that right? A. That is correct. Q. Do instructions in the task sheets? I'm sorry. Since the instructions on the task sheets correspond to the general orders, does that mean that the instructions on those sheets are followed by the Altoona police officers throughout their careers? A. That is correct. Q. So it's not, doesn't just apply to probationary officers, is that right? A. That is correct. The court. So let me just make sure I understand, Mr. Snyder. The purpose of what we are calling task sheets, their purpose to exist is to assist in training new officers, is that right? The witness. That is correct. The court. But the concepts and instructions and procedures that are reflected on those task sheets are procedures that apply to any officer in the department, not only probationary officers. The witness. That is correct. The court. Okay. Sometimes I want to make sure I understand, so if I say something that's wrong, I want you to correct me. But the summary do I have a correct understanding of these task sheets? The witness. That is correct. The court. Great. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Gentile. Mr. Gentile. Thank you, Judge. With the court's permission, I'm going to ask Ms. Sanker to publish for the court, the witness and the party's government exhibit 4. Mr. Anafilo. No objection. The court. You may publish government exhibit 4. Q. Chief. Do you recognize this document? A. Yes, I do. Q. And can you tell the court what it is? A. This is the Altoona Police Department task sheet for custodial arrest procedures, summary, misdemeanor and felony offenses. Q. And is this a true and accurate copy of the task sheet for custodial arrest procedures? A. Yes, it is. Mr. Gentile. The government offers government exhibit 4 into evidence. Mr. Anafilo. No objection, Judge. The court. All right. 4 is received. Government exhibit 4 received in evidence. Q. I'm going to direct your attention to 2. It's on page 3, Operational Procedures, Section D, which is titled In Custody Arrests, and I'm going to ask you to focus on number 7. What procedure does this specific subsection address? A. This talks about prisoners and their property being inventoried, and actually entering that information on an Altoona Police Department prisoner log. Q. And does this inventory procedure apply to all property that accompanies a person arrested by an Altoona officer? A. Yes. Q. Or just property found on his person? A. All property. Q. Chief. The last item I want you to take a look at is what has been marked as Government Exhibit 5. Mr. Gentile. May we publish? Judge. The court. Yes. Q. Chief. Do you recognize this document? A. Yes, I do. Q. And what is this? A. It is the Altoona Police Department Detention of Prisoners, Adult Task Sheet. Q. Is this a true and accurate copy of the task sheet Detention of Prisoners? A. Yes, it is. Mr. Gentile. The government offers Government Exhibit 5 into evidence. Mr. Anafilo. No objection, Judge. The court. 5 is received. Government Exhibit 5 received in evidence. Q. Chief. I'm going to direct your attention to 2. Operational Procedures, Letter D. Generally speaking, Chief, what procedure does this specific section address? A. This is addressing personal belongings that are found with a prisoner being inventoried and, again, safeguarded until a disposition can be made for them. Q. Does this inventory procedure apply to an arrestee's property that are going to be returned to the prisoner? A. Yes. Q. Does this specific procedure come into play after a search of an arrestee is conducted and they've already identified what property is personal and what property is evidence? A. Yes, that would be correct. Q. So how does this specific inventory procedure fit within the broader set of procedures we've discussed previously? A. So, when we're inventorying property, we decide what's going to be evidence, and that gets taken care of, documented, and then placed into secure evidence. Personal belongings that are items that the detainee could get back, or that could follow him to an institution, those things are also documented, but they're documented on this form, and then they are placed into a secure locker that can be accessed once we have a disposition of the prisoner. So, that's how it works. Q. Is this simply an additional layer of the inventory process? A. Yes, it is. Q. Chief, were the 2 task sheets that you just described for us in effect in December of 2024? A. Yes, they were. Q. My last question, Chief, are the procedures you've described here today the standardized procedures for the Altoona Police Department when conducting inventory searches? A. Yes. Mr. Gentile, no further questions. Judge, the court. Thank you, Mr. Gentile. I just have one further question before cross-examination, other than for items which are evidence, which I understand the purpose, but from your perspective and based on your training and experience, what's the purpose of this safeguarding and inventorying procedure for the remainder of a detainee's personal property? The witness. So, in my experience, I've had people with heirloom necklaces from their grandmother, things like that. These are all their personal property, and we want to make sure that we get them back to this detainee. We're responsible for taking them into custody, and that kind of goes along with we're now responsible for your property. We want to make sure you get it back. Furthermore, I don't want to give back somebody's property without inventorying, because somebody could say, hey, my wallet had $10,000 in it, and I don't know that if I don't search it. And, obviously, one of the most important is also that I'm not going to store any type of weapon or anything that can maybe be accessed even upon release or anything like that. So I want to make sure it's safe with the property. The court. Just taking a step back to arrest procedures. Let's say I'm arrested on a public bus and I have my purse or backpack like on the seat next to me and the officers come, ma'am, stand up. And in that standing up and handcuffing of me, I'm separated from my purse, with my wallet and cell phone and all that. What is the property procedure to be followed in Altoona? If you were training an officer, what are they supposed to do with that purse that's on the seat on a public bus? The witness. So they'll start by asking, ma'am, is this your purse? And if you say yes, we'll take that property with you. If you say, no, it's not my purse, in a public place like that, we'll go ask whoever owns the, or who's responsible for that area, hey, does this purse belong here? Is it yours? If no, then we will take custody of that purse, because it is somebody's purse, and then we will inventory it and try to get it back to its owner. The court. Why not just leave it there? You've arrested me and you're taking me away. Why not just leave the bag? The witness. Our duties are sometimes a little broad. Even though we're trying to accomplish one thing, we may encounter something else, and we can't turn a blind eye to it. We still have to handle that while we're there. Also, the court. What if I say, yes, it is my bag? Why not leave it there? I'm being arrested. The witness. Well, because you want to bring it with you. You probably have valuables in there like your ID. You might need money to take a bus home or anything like that. More importantly, nowadays, everybody has their phone somewhere. I know I wouldn't want to be separated from those items. The court. Thank you, Mr. Anafilo. Mr. Anafilo. Yes. Thank you very much. Cross-examination by Mr. Anafilo. Q. Chief Snyder. It's very nice to meet you. My name is Mark Anafilo. I'm going to ask you a few questions. It won't be very long. We'll get you back to Altoona before ice and snow reclaim the earth. A. Thank you. Q. So one thing I want to go over with you, the differences between these general orders you talked about with my colleague, and what were the other things called? Task sheets. A. That's correct. Q. Okay. And just what? Who writes the task sheets, if you know? A. So, before me, I believe the training coordinator, prior to me, had written out these task sheets. Q. Okay. And the general orders, the order is from the police chief of the Altoona Police Department, am I right? A. That would be correct. Q. Okay. And do you have any hard copies of the orders in front of you or no? A. I do not. Q. If you, I repeat what the judge said, if you want the hard copy orders, I'll give them to you, and that's fine. The court. Mr. Anafilo, do you want him to have them? I see Mr. Gentile is, Mr. Anafilo, if we could get them easily, that would be great. We have them, too. I think we have them, too. The court. Okay. If it would be easier just to have them, Mr. Anafilo, it might be. The court. For Chief Snyder to have them in front of him. Mr. Anafilo, we can use one as an example. This is Government Exhibit 1. Can I approach the court? Yes, of course. Q. If we're able to. It's already in evidence. This is Government Exhibit 1. If we can go to the last page of this and put this up on the screen for everyone. All right. If we can go to the last page. So, when you get yourself situated, Chief, this is the last page of Government Exhibit 1, and what you see here, this one is not signed, but you see a place where it would be signed by. Is that a police chief whose name you're familiar with? A. Yes, it is. Q. Okay, and this name, it's Janice Freeling. Am I saying that right? A. Yes. That's correct. Q. Okay. And Chief Freeling was the chief of the Altoona Police Department at some point in the past. Am I right? A. That is correct. Q. Okay. She's no longer the chief. A. No longer. Q. All right. And is it your understanding with these general orders that these are actually signed by the chief of police? A. Yes. Q. This one doesn't happen to be, but there's a place for a signature. A. That is correct. Q. Okay. And, in your experience, if we were in the Altoona Police Department and we were looking at the general orders, would we see these general orders signed by the police chief? A. That is correct. Q. All right. And that's true for all the general orders. Am I right? A. I would say that would be correct. Q. Okay. Just to give an example, let's just pull up, just as another example, Government's Exhibit 2. It's already in evidence. We'll go to the last page. We can give you that hard copy as well. Mr. Anafilo, may I approach the witness? Judge, the court. Yes. Mr. Anafilo, thank you. Q. All right. This is Government's Exhibit 2. We're going to go to the last page, and we see this same sort of signature block there, right? A. That is correct. Q. Okay. And now, in regard to these task sheets, let's go to what is already in evidence. For example, as Government's Exhibit 5, if we can pull it up for the chief. It's a 2-page document. Chief, we're going to show you both pages. So, this is the first page of Government's Exhibit 5. Do you see that there on your screen? A. I do. Q. Okay. And let's go to the second page. Do you see that on your screen? A. Yes, sir. Q. All right. So one of the differences, and tell me if this is right, between the general orders and these task sheets is that the general orders are actually signed by the chief of police. Correct. A. That is correct. Q. All right. And tell us again, who prepares the material in the task sheets? A. Before me, I believe it was the training coordinator. Q. All right. So am I right that one has the sort of force of an order, it's called an order, signed by the police chief, and then one does not? Am I right? A. So the task sheet is meant to be broken down, because, again, it's the first exposure that a probationary officer has to this task, so it's really broken down. Whereas, when you saw in the general orders that were mentioned and that we talked about, there was maybe only 4 or 5 lines on these talking about maybe in the same task, you're now broken down into 2 pages of explanation, because, again, we're not dealing with a 10-year veteran who may understand the lingo and that type of thing. This is a brand new guy fresh out of the academy. So, Q. Got it. Let's go to the first page of this document, if you can. So the point, this is really a summary. This is a summary of corresponding parts of the general order. Is that a fair way to put it? A. I would say if you look at the training task sheet itself, like Roman numeral I, there has reference material, so that's also explaining to the probation officer, we're not just telling you what to do, we're going to show you where that came from. Also, because that is part of the task sheet for the actual probationary officer, an FTO, to go over that reference material, to show them how we got to this is why we do that. Q. Got it. All right. I'm going to direct your attention to Government's Exhibit 1. I think you have a hard copy. You went over it with my colleague from the government. I want to direct your attention to 3.1.9, which is on the 6th page, and when you get there, just look up and let me know you're there. A. Yes. Q. All right. So this is entitled Required Detainee Searches, right? A. That is correct. Q. Okay. So you agree with me? We're going to go step by step through this section. In terms of the title, there's no reference to a bag, there's no reference to a car, there's no reference to anything other than the 3 words, required detainee searches. Am I right? A. That is correct. Q. And then, A, it says, inventory search of the detainee. Do you see that? A. I do. Q. Okay. Again, no reference to anything other than the detainee, the person in custody. Correct. A. Correct. Q. And let's look at the first sentence. All detainees placed in the cell block area shall be thoroughly searched by the processing officer regardless of any prior searches that occurred in the field. That's the first sentence there, right? A. That's correct. Q. All right. So, this is talking about a search of, by its own words, the detainee in the cell block area. Correct. A. That is correct. Q. All right. So this is telling us that the search of the detainee has to be in a particular area, specifically, the cell block area. Correct. A. It's saying, in that first sentence, that the detainee placed in the cell block shall be searched thoroughly by the officer. That's prior to putting them in that cell block. Q. Correct. Okay. So what this is telling us is that the detainee is supposed to be searched prior to the detainee being put in the cell. A. That is correct. Q. All right. If we go to the second paragraph, it says, whenever possible, a search of the detainee shall be conducted by an officer or other member of the same sex as the detainee. Am I right? A. That is correct. Q. And that's because this contemplates a physical search of the person of the detainee. Am I right? A. Yes, that's correct. Q. All right. If we were talking about a search of a bag or a backpack, the sex of the person searching the bag or the backpack wouldn't matter, would it? A. Not that I'm aware of. Q. Right. This is somewhat of a privacy concern that we want male detainees searched by male officers. We want female detainees searched by female officers. Am I right? A. You would be correct. Q. Okay. And that same concern would not exist if the search was of a shoulder bag or a backpack or some other object. Am I right? A. Not that I would find any reason for. Q. Right. Okay. And then it goes on to say, the search should be conducted in a safe and discreet manner. Along the same lines, we want the search of the person to be conducted in a safe and discreet manner. Am I correct? A. Correct. Q. Okay. Because what we're talking about in these two paragraphs is the search of a person. Am I right? A. I would say that would be correct. Q. Okay. So let's go to the third paragraph. The third paragraph says, special attention shall be given to search those areas where items could be hidden. And then there's a comma. We're going to get to what's after the comma in a minute. Special attention shall be given to search those areas where items could be hidden. That's what it says before the comma. Am I right? A. Correct. Q. Now, certainly, items can be hidden in bags. Correct. A. Correct. Q. Items could be hidden in backpacks. Right. A. Yes. Q. But let's now look at what's after the comma, such as jacket linings, jacket linings, hidden pockets, hats, belts, footwear, clothing seams, pant waists, and or cuffs. Do you see that there? A. I do. Q. Okay. Each of those 8 things relate to the search of a person. Correct. A. They do. Q. Okay. A hat obviously would be on a person. Correct. A. Possibly. Q. Yeah. Belts, footwear, these are items that you associate with the search of a person. Correct. A. Correct. Q. Okay. And, again, you don't see any reference to bags or backpacks or anything like that, at least what we've looked at so far in this section. Am I right? A. Correct. Q. So number 4, just so we hit all the different sections, number 4 says, officers shall exercise special attention to detail to ensure that no detainee is placed in a cell while in possession of any items which may be used to harm themselves or others, or otherwise be used for the purposes of escape. Do you see that there? A. I do. Q. Okay. And then let's go to number 5. Number 5 talks about strip searches and body cavity searches. Do you see that there? A. I do. Q. Okay. In regard to that, we're talking about specifically and exclusively to the search of a person's body. Correct. A. Correct. Q. Okay. So, again, there's no reference, and we're already up to paragraph 5 here. There's no reference to a bag or a backpack or anything other than the search of a person. Right. A. I believe on number 3, after you listed the clothing seams, the hats, the belts, the footwear, the next sentence, the searching officer shall remove all personal property and itemize the property. When we went over that, all personal property. Q. Okay. A. So that would then include everything. Q. All right. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk about that for a second. All right. So the sentence before it, you agree with me, is 8 different things that you associate with a search of a person. Right. We just talked about that a few minutes ago. A. Yes. Q. Now, what this sentence is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that the personal property and items of property are supposed to be put on a detainee property receipt. Correct. A. That is correct. Q. So then this sentence introduces a new concept for us, which we haven't seen so far, that being a detainee property receipt. Correct. A. Correct. Q. And just very briefly, we don't need to belabor the point, what's the detainee property receipt? A. So, it is referred to as the prisoner property log. It's just another name for it. Q. Okay. And this is, and just describe it to us very briefly, it's a document. It's a physical document, am I right? A. Correct. Q. I would imagine it has the name of the prisoner. Correct. A. Correct. Q. I would imagine it would have a different list of entries of different items of property that are on that log. Am I right? A. Correct. Q. Okay. And so what paragraph 3 is telling us is that this property that you've recovered, you have to put all that on a detainee property receipt. Am I right? A. Correct. Q. Okay. All right. Now, so let's go to 5. I think you agreed with me that strip search, body cavity searches are uniquely concerned with the search of a person's body. Correct. A. Correct. Q. All right. Now let's go to the last paragraph here. All property removed from the detainee shall be itemized using a prisoner property form. Do you see that there? A. I do. Q. Okay. So the phrase that's used here is removed from the detainee. Am I right? A. Correct. Q. Okay. Again, there's no reference. And now that we've gone through this entire section, and you tell me if I'm missing it, there's no reference anywhere in this section to a bag. Correct. A. No, I do not see anything that says bag specifically. Q. Okay. There's no reference to anything other than a search of the person. A. Not in this general order. No. Q. Okay. So we're just talking the minimum. 3.1.9. There's no reference to anything other than the search of a person. Right. A. Right. Q. Okay. Let's go the 1st of March 2010. Now, 3.1.9, as we talked about, was called required detainee searches. Right. A. Correct. Q. And the 3rd of January 2010 is called secure storage of detainee property. Am I right? A. Correct. Q. Okay. Now, tell me if this is right. These two sections work in conjunction with each other in that, under 3.1.9, property is going to be collected, and then at the 3rd of January 2010, property is going to be stored in a secure fashion. Am I right? A. That would be correct. Q. Okay. What we see is we have some of the same phrases. Let me show you what I mean. So, in 3.1.9.6, it says, all property removed from the detainee. Do you see that there? A. I do. Q. Okay. Then if we go down to the 3rd of January 2010, it's the last paragraph. I think it's a, no, I'm sorry, it's 2. Do you see that at the bottom? A. Yes. Q. Okay. And it uses that same phrase again, contraband, evidence and/or illegal weapons removed from the detainee. We have that same phrase, removed from the detainee. Right. A. Correct. Q. And, again, in those sections, and feel free to take a look at the whole section, the 3rd of January 2010, there's no reference to a bag or a backpack or something other than the search of a person. A. I do not see anything there. Q. Okay. Now, I think Her Honor was asking you some questions, and I wanted to follow up on a few of them. The idea of safeguarding property. Let me back up a second. Inventory searches are to safeguard personal property. Am I right? A. That is correct. Q. These two sections are not sections explicitly about evidence per se, things that are going to be used in a courtroom. A. They're not specific about that. Correct. Q. Right. So, you're familiar with not only the 3 general orders that my colleague showed you a few minutes ago, you're familiar with all of them. Fair to say. A. Yes. Q. Okay. We have one I wanted you to take a look at. It's General Order 1.2. It would be, it's proposed as Defense Exhibit A. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a copy. The court, do you have a copy for me, Mr. Anafilo? Mr. Anafilo? Yes. Yes, of course, Judge. All right. Yes, Judge. Can I approach the court? You can hand my copy to Ms. Vernius. Thank you. Q. All right. So before we talk about this document, just tell us briefly what it is. A. It is the Altoona Police Department's General Order 1.2. Q. Okay. And if we can go to the last page, feel free to flip to the last page of it. It's page 15. And we see the same name of the same police chief, Chief Janice Freeling. Do you see that? A. That is correct. Mr. Anafilo, Your Honor, we offer this as Defense Exhibit A. Mr. Gentile, no objection. The court, all right. Defense A is admitted. Defendant's exhibit are received in evidence. Q. So, Defense Exhibit A, if we look at, I've been meaning to ask you, I'm meeting you for the first time, so I've been meaning to ask you a lot of things. On the first page, you see it states index words. A. Yes. Q. It says index words, but those are basically the different types of information that's going to be in that general order. Am I right? A. That would be correct. Q. All right. So if we look at the third entry here, it says, statutory authorizations. That's the first thing, right? A. Right. Q. Then it says in custody procedures, the second thing, right? A. That's correct. Q. And then it says, search and seizure procedures, right? A. Correct. Q. So is it fair to say this is a general order that deals with the procedures around search and seizure? A. Correct. Q. All right. So let's go through this and we're not going to belabor, just a little bit more detail. We're going to look on page 2. We're going to look at the top of page 2, 1.2.1. Do you see that there? A. Yes. Q. It says, agency statutory authorizations. Do you see that? A. I do. Q. Okay. And it says, under A, United States Constitution, the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Rules of Criminal Procedure, Title 234, and the Third-Class City Code define the legal authority granted to the Altoona Police Department as it pertains to the enforcement of codified laws, statutes and ordinances. It says that there, right? A. Correct. Q. Okay. Now, is it right? Is it your understanding of that paragraph and the rules generally that the Altoona Police Department is saying that our general orders are going to be in accordance with, for instance, the Constitution of the United States of America? A. That is correct. Q. And the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, right? A. Correct. Q. And these other legal laws and rules that are listed here, correct? A. Correct. Q. All right. Let's look very briefly on page 3. I think this is subsumed by what we just talked about. On the top there it says, policy. Do you see that on the top of page 3? A. Yes, I do. Q. Okay. And it says, it is the sworn responsibility of all members of the Altoona Police Department to comply with the constitutional requirements regarding in-custody situations, including but not limited to. Then there are a number of entries, and one of them is search and seizure, right? A. Correct. Q. Okay. So one of the obligations of the officers and other folks who work for the Altoona Police Department is that their procedures have to follow the U.S. Constitution. Am I right? A. Correct. Q. And the other laws that were outlined in that paragraph we just looked at a little while ago, right? A. Correct. Q. Okay. Now, there are a number, if we look on page 5, so we get to page 5, and just look up at me when you're done. Okay, thank you. So, it's 1.2.3, and it says search and seizure without a warrant procedures. Do you see that? A. I do. Q. Okay. There are a number, and we're going to go I'm going to have you thumb through pages 5, 6 and 7. There are a number of different types of searches that are listed under there, and we're going to talk about them one by one. We're not going to talk about a lot of them in great detail at all. The first one on the bottom of page 5, search by consent, that's A, right? Search by consent. A. Correct. Mr. Gentile, objection, Your Honor. We're going beyond the scope of the very narrow lane of inquiry the court set out for this, the securing and inventorying of property of an arrested person in a public place. We're now venturing into search and seizure law and consent and probable cause, and that is not the focus of today's hearing, at least from the government's perspective. The court, understood. Where is this going, Mr. Anafilo? Mr. Anafilo, so, where we're going is I believe that the direct examination does not capture the entirety of what the obligations of the Altoona Police Department are, and this is where I'm getting to with the chief, is that what we see in the inventory procedures later in the general orders, in Chapter 3 of the general orders, are all informed by the earlier chapters of the general orders, including this one in the first section. The court. So let's try to get to that point a little bit faster. Mr. Anafilo, yes, very good. The court. We can assume Deputy Snyder is familiar with these orders. He said that a number of times. Mr. Anafilo, yes. The court. I don't think you have to orient him. Just get to the part that's relevant to this. By Mr. Anafilo. Q. Let's get right to it. Let's go to page 8. Page 8 talks about impound inventory search. Do you see that there? A. Yes, I do. Q. All right. And this is talking about impounded vehicles. Am I right? A. That is correct. Q. Which we don't have in this case. Correct. As far as you know. A. I am unaware. Q. Very good. All right. But in the section on impounded vehicles, this particular order, for instance, talks about how to deal with closed containers. Correct. A. Where is that? Q. Let me not make you look for it. Fourth line down. It says, when inventorying a vehicle, all closed containers will be searched unless the contents can easily be ascertained. Do you see that there? A. I do. Q. Okay. So here now I want to get back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago, when I asked you before, in the 2 sections you reviewed on direct examination and then with me on cross, there was no mention in those sections, for instance, of a backpack. I asked you that a few times, right? A right, Q, or a bag of any sort, correct? A correct. Q, or any closed container was not mentioned in that section we spoke about a few minutes ago, correct? A correct. Q, but you'll agree with me that when the police chief who signed these orders wants closed containers to be able to be searched, that could be written into the order as it is here. A, I am unaware of what she wanted at that time. Q, okay, but you agree with me that there is a provision for searching closed containers in the impound section having to do with vehicles, correct? A correct. Q, now, the idea of an inventory search is safeguarding a prisoner's property pending whatever's going to come next in that person's situation, whether they be released, whether they go to prison, whatever the situation may be, correct? A correct. Q, okay, it is not. Tell me if this is right. It is not a typical inventory situation when all of the items are going to be given to another police department, for instance, in a murder investigation. Mr. Gentile, objection. The court, is there a difference, Deputy Snyder, in your inventory practices if you're going to hand something over to another department or if you know that Altoona is keeping the investigation? Does that have any effect on your practices with regard to inventorying bags or things of that nature? The witness, as far as the inventory, no. Q, fair to say, the inventory process does not contemplate that this is all going to be used as evidence, am I right? A, I'm not sure I understand. Q, let me ask you a better question. That's fair enough. The purpose of inventorying, I think you've identified 3 different purposes, and I want to make sure I have this right. You want to make sure that the person's property is returned to them and it's not lost, correct? A correct. Q, you want to make sure that it's not damaged, right? A correct. Q, and you want to make sure that the police personnel and others who might be in close proximity with that property are safe, am I right? A correct. Q, okay, none of those purposes relate to the handling of evidence to be used in a criminal case, am I right? A correct. Q, bear with me 1 second, Chief. Mr. Anafilo, Your Honor, just give me 1 second, please. Q, Chief, I think we talked a little bit ago about a prisoner log, right? A correct. Q, I'm going to show you a copy. You're familiar with them generally, I imagine, right? A, yes. Q, I'm going to show you a copy, and I'm just going to ask you some specific questions. You can refer to it or, if you remember independently, you can answer that way. Mr. Anafilo, so, if Your Honor is okay, I'll approach the chief and just give him a sample department prisoner log. The court, is there a copy for me? Also, Mr. Anafilo, yes, Judge, this is actually the one in this case, but we're not looking to put it into evidence. The court, okay, so it's just, in effect, as a demonstrative, Mr. Anafilo. Mr. Anafilo, yes. The court, just for the record, the witness has been handed an exhibit marked as Defense Exhibit B for identification. Mr. Anafilo, yes, Judge, thank you. This is Defense B for identification. Q, okay, so, this is an Altoona Police Department prisoner log, am I right? A, that is correct. Q, okay, I really just want to look down about 1/3 from the bottom where it says prisoner property. Do you see that there? A, yes. Q, now, correct me if I'm wrong, there are a number of entries on this particular prisoner log, which are belt, wallet, jacket, hat, purse, watch, rings, necklace, and earrings. Do you see those there? A, I do see them. Q, okay, there's no reference anywhere in this document, am I right, to bags, backpacks, or things of that nature. A, that would be under other items. Q, okay, other items. A, yes, correct. Q, but there's nothing specifically to reflect bags or backpacks or things like that. A, no. Q, okay. Now, in terms of an inventorying procedure, correct me if I'm wrong, there would be no reason to read entries in, for instance, a notebook or a journal, am I right? A, typically, not something that would be done. Q, okay, it's something that you might want to photograph the entirety of the journal to see what condition it's in, but there would be no reason to read each page, correct? A, I'd say that's correct. Q, and we're getting to the end. I want to go through some of the other sections that you went through with my colleague here. All right, let's look at General Order 3.6. Do you have that in front of you? A, I do. Q, you do. Can you take a look at it for a second? The court, Just for the record, that's Government Exhibit 2. Mr. Anafilo, it is Government Exhibit 2. Q. So, here it talks, in the index words, it says, evidence, found and/or abandoned property, recovered property. Do you see that there? A. I do see that. Q. Okay. Now, if we look at pages 6 and 7, under 3.6.6, it talks about documented inspections, inventory, and audits required. Do you see that there? A. Yes, sir. Q. Okay. And then the first thing it talks about is annual inspection. Do you see that there? A. I do. Q. What's an annual inspection? Let me read, just so you don't. If you know what it is, you can give an answer. If not, I'm happy to read it to you. A. I do. So, it's an annual inspection of the evidence room. Q. Okay. So that has nothing to do with an inventory per se, in regard to a specific person. A. Not that I am aware of. Q. Okay. Now, is this section here, 3.6.6, is this a section that has to do with the auditing and sort of regulation of the evidence room? A. Yes. Q. All right. So this is basically a principle of quality control that the Altoona Police Department uses to make sure that everything in the evidence room is kept in good order. A. Correct. Q. All right. Let's look at General Order 3.5, which is Government Exhibit 3. Do you have that in front of you, Chief? If not, we can get you. A. I do not. Q. Yes. Let me get it to you. Let me get it to you. Mr. Anafilo, does Your Honor want a copy of 3.5? The court. I have it. Thank you, Mr. Anafilo. Q. Okay. Let me approach the witness. Take a look at it, and I have just a couple questions for you. We're really winding down. So, in that first section, under purpose, it talks about the integrity of the chain of custody of evidence. Do you see that there in that second line there? A. Yes, I do. Q. All right. And tell me if this is right. Chain of custody is a principle where pieces of evidence will always be able to know who had it, that it was logged properly, so if you want to use it in a court proceeding, it can be admissible. Is that basically right? A. Sounds like a basic principle. Q. All right. It sounds like something a lawyer would say. So, now, if we look at page 3, under physical evidence, under 2, it says, tell me, are you there? A. Yes. Q. Okay. It says, when an officer receives physical evidence, he or she shall maintain a secure chain of custody. You see that phrase again, right? A. Yes. Q. Okay. So this is a section that has to do with the collection of evidence. Am I right? A. Correct. Q. All right. And the maintenance of a chain of custody of collected evidence. Correct. A. Correct. Q. Okay. So that could be used and admitted someday in a court proceeding if it gets to that. A. If that's where it goes. Yes. Q. All right. 1 second, Chief. Mr. Anafilo. 1 second, Judge. Q. All right. A few more questions, Chief, and then I'll be done. Fair to say, I think we talked about it at the outset, the general orders. The general orders are a much more thorough discussion of the different subject matters covered than are the task sheets. Is that fair to say? A. They're a little deeper into that. I'm not understanding. Q. Yes, sure. The general orders that we've been covering cover these different subjects in great detail. Am I right? A. Not as. I would disagree. When we're talking about the task sheets, like I explained before, for new probationary officers, we try to break it down a little better for them. Again, they don't know. They're not a 10-year veteran officer that understands maybe the lingo or some of the terminology used. So, for the new guys, I would say the task sheets are broken down a little bit better. Q. But the task sheets are essentially, they're not issued by the police chief, correct? A. They're issued as part of our manual to the new guys, and it is something they have to pass in order to continue on in the training program. Q. Right. But whereas the general orders are actually orders from the police chief, the task sheets are not. A. The general order is an order. Yes, correct. Q. And the task sheets are not an order in the same way. Am I right? A. I guess it depends on what you mean. Like I said, you can't. In order for probationary officers to get off probation, he has to complete those task sheets and show that he has knowledge on those task sheets. If he does not sign off on the task sheet, he will not move further in the FTO program. Q. And just so I understand, the court, go ahead, Mr. Anafilo, and then I'll ask my question. Q. Sure. When you say sign off, I'm not clear on what you're saying. He signs off on the task sheets. Just tell us what that means. A. Oh, Basically, when the task sheet is presented to the probationary officer and the FTO explains it and the probation officer reads it and everything, they go out and do the demonstration, show how it's applicable in the field, come back. Then a supervisor, their kind of last step as a new guy, their supervisor would quiz them on that task sheet. Once the supervisor feels, hey, this probational officer is proficient in this task, he or she will sign it. That piece of paper will be training paperwork for the day, and we will check that off as one of their completions of task sheets required for them for that step in the training program. Then they can continue to move forward. Q. All right, the court. Can any random person in the Altoona Police Department prepare those task sheets and check them off and sign them? The witness. So, we require our probationary officers to only sign them off with supervisors who have been FTOs. The court. Those are people designated by the chief of the department to conduct this training, right? The witness. That is correct. The court. Go ahead, Mr. Anafilo. Mr. Anafilo. Yes. Thank you, Judge. Q. Do you know how the general orders are prepared? A. As far as typed up, or Q. Is there a meet? Because now you're a deputy chief. Are there meetings to refine them as time goes on? Have you ever had any input into what goes into a general order? I'm just trying to figure out how they get to be what they are. A. I do not. Q. Fair enough. Give me 1 second. Mr. Anafilo. Sir. Thank you. It was very nice meeting you. Safe travels back to Pennsylvania. The witness. Thank you. The court. Chief, I just have a question. I want to make sure I understand. Let's go back to my example where you're arresting me on a public bus, right? So, for purposes of the example, there's maybe a probationary police officer. You're the field training officer making sure that they follow all the procedures. You approach me. Mom, stand up, please. What's this all about? You say, Mom, I need you to stand up. I stand up. I'm handcuffed, and I'm told I'm going to be placed under arrest. On the seat next to me, towards the window, is a purse, a large one for these purposes, and the officer asks me, as we went over before, Mom, is that your bag? I say, yes. Walk me through everything that happens next. If you were teaching a probationary officer what to do in that situation, what's the next thing that's going to happen? The witness. So, I'm going to instruct the probationary officer, okay, now that you are secured, go ahead and let's pat her down. Make sure there's no obvious weapons, anything like that that can obstruct or hurt us or them. I'm going to have him or her do that. We're going to take the bag. We're probably going to move off the bus, because it's not really a controlled environment. Preferably we're being hypothetical on the street. Move to the patrol car, where that way we can secure you in the car. At that time, we do probably a very brief check through the bag to make sure we're not, in our neck of the woods, there's a lot of drugs. So I wouldn't want anything that could pass through the system and we could smell or inhale or anything like that. And I would teach him or her that this is what we're doing. We're checking to make sure there's nothing in here that can hurt us or hurt her while we're transporting it. Once we go back to the station, we'd bring you in the alley door. We'd then secure you there. We have a place we secure people we bring in. The court. Is that the holding cell or the witness? It's actually like an intake area. It's got like a shackle to the floor, and that's where we would secure them. The court. Then what happens to my bag? The witness. It's brought with you into the station, and we have a big table that's sitting right there when you come in the door. So we set the bag down, and I would tell the probationary officer, I'd say, okay, go ahead, give her instruction, uncuff her, and then let's begin with our search. And we'd focus on you first. So we'd uncuff you, hand me your jacket, hand me your shirt, your gloves, you need to take your jewelry off. Go through that whole thing. If there's a female there, we'd have a female come out and pat you down further. In the meantime, we're placing all the things on this big table, all the items that we've seized. The court. So as you're removing my jewelry, my jacket, that's all going on the same table. The witness. Correct. The court. Okay. The witness. If it was just the case of me and a probationary officer, which typically there's always 2 people there, I would then take that probationary officer and say, okay, we've got her taken care of. Now, this is the form. This is what we need to fill out. She had a necklace. See right here down at the bottom, necklace. Boom. And we'd go through those items. She has a backpack. It's not listed there, because we can't hardly list everything possible. That form would be 20, 30 pages long, but then we would start inventorying what you have in that bag. Okay, she has 2 pair of socks, you know, she's got a radio, she's got this, that. We'd inventory all that on the sheet, as long as we didn't pull out anything that was contraband or evidentiary, that we'd deem evidentiary, like, if you had drugs, obviously, that would be contraband. Everything else is going to get shoved back into that bag, all that personal property. We tried to put necklaces and things that could be lost in like a folder. We explain this to them as I'm doing it. You'd be standing there watching it all. Obviously, body cams and station video is on. Then we'd take that, and right beside where we're at, there are 8, 9 lockers, and they have locks on them. We take that property, put it in there, and I'd say, okay, it's important, locker number 1, and he would write that on the sheet, 1. So then we would know locker 1 is your property for when you get released or transferred or whatever. The court, if my bag is zipped closed, why not just take the bag and just put that in a locker without opening it? The witness, again, I don't know what is in that bag too. A. Safeguard. I don't know if there is something in there that could hurt any of the officers walking by that locker. I don't know what you're capable of. I just met you. So, you know, for our safety, for your safety in that facility, we're going to check and inventory those things. The court, what if there's money or other valuables inside the bag that aren't evidence or that are valuables? Why do you need to identify and inventory those things? The witness, well, again, those are your personal belongings, and they're of value to you. We don't ever want to be accused of taking anything. We want you to get all your stuff back. And since it's your belongings, you need it back, so we will document that on there. There's a money total. I think we break it down into bills and changes. And, you know, I would hate for you to come up with $2,000 missing, and that might not even be our department. If we're transferring you, we have no way of knowing what another place or facility may or may not lose, so that's why we also have a place for people taking custody of the prisoner to sign for that personal property, so that way they know what they're getting. 2. The court. Thank you, sir. Mr. Anafilo, Your Honor, can I ask a follow-up question? It will be very brief. The court. Well, yes, by Mr. Anafilo, Q Chief, if you found something illegal, cocaine, a firearm magazine, would you do anything other than continue with the inventory search? A. In this specific instance, Q. Yes. A. That she said. Q. Yes. A. No. We would stop at that point, in her instance. Q. And what would you do? A. At that point we'd probably go get a search warrant. Q. Okay. And so that's the procedure. A. That specific instance. Yes. With that set of facts. Q. Okay. So if you had a bag, you were prepared to inventory the bag, you found something illegal, like a firearm magazine or something like that, you would stop and get a search warrant. A. Again, in this specific incident that the judge just outlined. Q. Yes. A. Yes. In her case. Q. Got it. That's all I need to know. Thank you. The court. Mr. Gentile. Mr. Gentile, briefly, Your Honor. Thank you. Redirect examination by Mr. Gentile. Q. Chief. I just want to pick up where Mr. Anafilo left off regarding the inventory search process. If you found a magazine in someone's purse or bag, if you found contraband, drugs or gambling records or something like that, would you stop the search and then apply for a search warrant in that situation? A. That would be correct. Q. But if you found something that was dangerous, like a magazine or firearm, would you stop searching then, even though there might be a gun attached to that or something even more harmful? A. No, not necessarily. Q. Would you continue searching to see if there were any other dangerous items that would expose other officers or the community to danger? A. Sure. The court. I'm sorry. What was that answer? The witness. Sure. Yes. I'm sorry. Q. Chief. We went through several categories of property in your direct examination, including found property, abandoned property, evidence and personal property. Do you recall that? A. Yes. Q. And Mr. Anafilo went through one specific section of the general order that applied to personal property, right? A. Correct. Q. In all those categories of property, do they all require some sort of securing or inventorying of that property, whether it's found, abandoned, evidentiary or personal? A. Correct. Q. With respect to the task sheets, in order for the, you said that the task sheets are part of the manual, is that right? A. That is correct. Q. In order for the task sheet to be part of the manual, does the chief have to authorize that? A. Can you ask that again, please? Q. In other words, doesn't someone in authority have to provide some sort of approval for anything that's entered into the manual? A. Correct. Yes. Q. In the inventory process, I believe you spoke, you answered some questions from Mr. Anafilo about, or, actually, from the judge regarding the purposes of the inventory search. It's not just to give or to account for a detainee's personal property, is it? It's also about a safety issue, right? A. Correct. Q. Is it also about an accountability issue for the department, that you know what property you're in possession of, and this way, if you're going to give some of that property back, you know how much and what type of property you're returning. A. Correct. Mr. Gentile, thank you, Judge. Mr. Anafilo, Your Honor, I have 2 questions, just following up. Cross-examination by Mr. Anafilo. Q. Chief, do you still have Defense Exhibit A in front of you? It's General Order 1.2, already in evidence. A. Which General Order? Q. It's 1.2, Chief. The Court, it has a big A on it. Q. Yes, it has a big A on the first page at the bottom. A. Got it. Q. Do me a favor and go to page 8, and I'm going to direct your attention to the last 2 lines on page 8. Do you see that there? A. I do. Q. I'm going to read it to you. If during an inventory search, evidence of a crime is discovered, the officer shall stop the inventory search and secure a search warrant prior to continuing. Is that what it says? A. That is what it says. Q. Thank you. Mr. Gentile, Your Honor, I just want to, 1 question, redirect examination by Mr. Gentile. Q. That section that you just read for Mr. Anafilo, that's under impound inventory search, is that right? A. That's right. Q. Does that pertain to vehicles? A. That is correct. Q. Thank you. Cross-examination by Mr. Anafilo. Q. Is there anything in any general order that says that the rules are different for vehicles as opposed to other property? A. I would have to look through our general orders. Q. Thank you. A. I don't want to give you false information. Q. Okay, thank you. Mr. Gentile, nothing further from the government. Thank you. The Court, all right, you are excused, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Gentile. Anything else from the government while we're all here together? Mr. Gentile, no, Your Honor. The Court, Mr. Anafilo. Mr. Anafilo, I don't believe so. Thank you, Your Honor. The Court, thank you all very much. I've found this very helpful. I'll see you in a week. Adjourned. Index of examination of.
That was the end of the official transcript of the 23rd of January 2026 when Luigi Mangione appeared in court on that day. And I also realized I was in such a rush to make this little bit of the video. I didn't even put my bag that I use for day-to-day use. I normally don't even put it on the couch. I just hang it up. But I just couldn't be bothered. I also Benedetto's here. By the way, if you guys are strictly just listening to the audio version of Requiro and got really confused why I said a random Italian man's name, Benedetto is the little plush keychain I keep on my day-to-day bag. I just thought that was a really nice Italian name and I wanted to name something that. That's the plush keychain I have. There is no random Italian man here, by the way. Just thought I should put that here. Benedetto is the keychain I have. Not a random Italian man in my life. Now we are going to move to my little outro and I'll let you guys go to do whatever you want. Thank you for watching this week's video. You can subscribe if you want to. It's okay if not. I upload 3 times a month, and if you guys want to keep up to date with the channel and what I'm working on during the week and all that, you can follow the channel's social medias. That will be in the description down below. And if you guys want to follow me personally, all of my social medias are down below. Yeah, have a nice week. Thank you for watching. Bye.